Well, today is NFL Catholic Day. We have two of the greatest kickers in the NFL with us, Greg Zuerlein from the LA Rams and Harris or Butker from the Kansas City Chiefs. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having me.
So, Tim, why don't you introduce us? You're the NFL guy. You got the NFL cards behind you. You're the expert.
Yeah, well, these are two of the four conference championship kickers, two of the best. Anyone who plays fantasy football will tell you, two of the best kickers in the league, highest point scorers. And yeah, Greg was going for an NFL record season and a half ago for most points scored. And I've had the honor of meeting him in real life. Went to some church militant events together. Hey, can I say that, Greg? And no blackballing there yet from the NFL. And then Harrison and I have had the pleasure of we've developed a text friendship over the last month. So you guys are both amazing kickers, and Aje Quarajas, you do what you do so well, and we all admire you. And I have students that I teach that have both of you guys in fantasy. So thanks for kicking.
Yeah, we try.
I know. And good job in the championship games. And Greg, you were very exciting late game Super Bowl. Take down Brady next time. Kick Brady down.
Yeah, we'll try. He's very good. Tough to beat.
He's good at football. So I just wanted to open up. I understand the nature of this thing, how it works. You guys are both Orthodox Roman Catholics. You're the real deal. I know that from talking to both of you. So I understand there will be a lot of overlap in your answers. But what a lot of people wonder, I'm a huge basketball fan. I'm a secondary football fan. You watch these guys on TV. All right, I was watching the Thunder in their double overtime game last night, yelling at the screen. And you just want to root in 2019 as a fan of pro sports for a guy that's not cheating on his wife, right? That's not going to like Marina Abramovich's like spirit cooking dinners, right? You just want a guy that's good, and a Catholic guy is even amazing. So you two guys are an inspiration for the world of Orthodox Christianity, Orthodox Roman Catholicism in particular. What's it like? Can you give everyone out there your personal point of view, as far as you're willing to be honest about it, and won't get you in trouble with the association? What's it like being an Orthodox Catholic, not just a Mark Wahlberg, pretty good Catholic, but really Orthodox and faithful for each of you, Harrison, Greg, in a pro sports, which does not like even so Christians? I'll throw it to Harrison. You're on top. You tackle that first. No pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's got different perceptions of the NFL, and it might depend on what team you are on. But with the Chiefs, I've been blessed. I'm right next to Dustin Colquitt, who's a great Christian. He's actually going through RCA right now. But the Chiefs, they have a really good team, and they're pretty open to any of my beliefs or what I have to say. And we're blessed to have a great chaplain with the Chiefs as well, but it's not as hard as you would think, I guess. I mean, most of the guys are married. I'd say it's worse in college, where almost everybody's single and they're kind of living the party life. But a lot of guys are settled down in the NFL. I'd say the majority of the locker room, at least with the Chiefs, they're settled down. And, there's not a ton of Catholics on the team. We have some coaches. But I think, you just got to surround yourself with the right guys, I think, to build you up. And then, luckily we've been blessed with a great chaplain, and then also Kansas City has a ton of great Catholic churches. So, I'm loving it here.
Awesome. How about you, Greg?
I don't think it's anything that's too difficult. I mean, you're going to take a few jibs here and there, just people making fun of you. I mean, I have 4 kids in a short amount of time, and so I'll get made fun of for that. But it just gives me an opportunity to explain Catholic viewpoints on contraception and abortion. And so stuff like that, I'm not going to do, Catholics aren't going to do. And so that's one area that I have noticed that's a little different. But other than that, I would say kind of like Harrison said, there's not a whole lot of religious talk. I mean, I'm going to live my life the way I live, and then if an opportunity presents itself, I can talk to people about Catholic things, but most of the time people aren't looking to, they're not searching for God, I would say. Lots of people believe in God. They just think he's out there. And like Harrison said as well, with the Rams, there's a few Catholics, and we have a priest that comes before our games, and we get our mass duties in, and then that's really it. I wouldn't say it's anything too crazy.
Yeah, I'd say the NFL is, well, it's just a super high stress environment. Like guys, when they're in the facilities, I mean, they're pretty focused on what they're doing that day. You know, we have some conversations like, you know, in the hot tub or something, get ready for practice. But for the majority of the time, it's pretty, you know, we're focused on what we're doing and trying to be productive throughout the day. So just not a ton of time to talk about stuff, but we still have those conversations, I'd say.
Harrison, do you have a priest that comes to the, I guess, not the locker room, but the facilities and has mass for you guys on Sunday morning? How do y'all work that?
Yeah, so we do Saturday evenings. Greg, is that what y'all do?
Yeah, Saturday evenings, and unless it's late evening game like Monday Night Football or something, then we'll have it Sunday morning.
Yeah, so they do a good job setting that up. I think that's through Catholic Athletes for Christ. And then some teams will travel their home priest to the away games, but we'll have a different priest usually come in. But yeah, Saturday evenings is when we do it.
And is there a priest traveling with you, or is it a local one?
No, so like I know the Falcons, they have their priest travel for home and for away games, but yeah, we get a local priest in whatever city we're in to come to the hotel, and then our home priest, he's got his own parish, so he just stays in Kansas City.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have
a priest?
Go ahead. I was going to say, if you
make a joke
during the season, are you able to go to mass with your family at all, or is it mainly just in that situation?
Yeah, that's the tough part, because it's like Sunday, we'd love to, you know, have a day of rest and be able to go to mass together as a family. But unfortunately, unless it's like a 12 o'clock game, we might be able to go to a Sunday evening together. But usually we just have so many people in town visiting. But no, it's tough during the season, you know, and now we're about to have kids and everything. I'm sure, Greg, you can talk about that, but it's tough. You want to be at mass with your family.
How many kids do y'all have? Greg has 4.
Yeah, I got 4.
I got 1. Mine's 4 weeks old.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Brand new.
Justin Butker. Yeah.
Man, had a baby right there.
Congrats.
At the end. That's great. That's great.
So you guys each sort of graze past the idea of evangelizing, which and Harrison, I think it was you mentioned in the hot tub, you know, it sort of comes up as naturally as possible. Like, this is great water, bro. Do you contracept? Like, are you talking about my fertility count?
Hey, if you stay in the hot water long enough, you kind of, you know, might kill it off.
Yeah, culture of death thrives in hot water. Yeah. At 105, these waters are getting contraceptive. No, I mean, yeah, like there's a model in America, because America's an ex-Protestant country, right? It's not really preponderantly Protestant anymore, but there's a model of evangelization that has been at the same time effective, but clunky. And I think everyone sort of knows the general sense I'm talking about. It's effective because you'll pick off if it's so blunt and if it's so forthcoming. The Protestant model of evangelization has been used to effect in a different era before this one. But it's clunky, right? It'll make some people, there's no subtleties about it. So proper evangelization, which would be Catholic evangelization, except no one does it, right? Almost no one does it. What opportunities do you have for it that aren't like my hot tub example or whatever? Like, you're just looking for any word that begins with J and you're like, oh, Jesus also begins with J. That's more that Protestant thing. How do each of you guys, Greg, Harrison, you mentioned these opportunities are rare, but they do present themselves. How has it presented itself to you, the opportunity to talk to people about the purpose of life? Yeah.
I think where I deal mainly with evangelization would be with fallen away Catholics or just people that aren't regularly attending Mass. And so I think it starts there. That's where most of my conversations are, and just trying to be subtle, not too in your face, because then I'm just going to drive people away. And so that's where I deal with mainly. And then with Protestants, they have their minister that comes and they have Bible study every week. And so whenever that opportunity to arise comes, put forth my Catholic viewpoint of the church tradition going back to Jesus giving the keys to St. Peter and the apostolic tradition that goes from there, and why Protestants, trying to ask them questions about why it is they believe what they believe. Unfortunately, you're going to get different answer from every single one, and that's kind of the nature of Protestantism. But and then talking to their minister, seeing what he believes, because he's the one that's talking to them every week. And I don't know, I'm not good at it by any means, but I feel like I can throw out some Catholic viewpoints and, maybe sow a little seed, and if it grows, great. But I'm not going to convert anyone by blunt face Catholicism.
Yeah. I think by this
wham,
point,
wham. Hey, this is
yeah. I definitely let people approach me first. I mean, kind of my group of friends on the team. I mean, a lot of them are Protestant, and then actually with Andy Reid, he's Mormon, and a lot of the guys play at BYU, so they're Mormon as well. So I'm kind of like talking to Protestants and Mormons, and then they kind of understand that I'm giving the Catholic perspective there. But I guess by the books I read, or I don't know, but people seem to know that I'm Catholic. And then also there's some guys that'll make like, I think they're joking, but they'll make like, oh, I'll take your soul, and then your soul will like disappear and stuff like that. And then I guess I'll get a little philosophical and talk about that. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm just like coming right out with it, but if the opportunity presents itself, I'm definitely speaking up about it. But yeah, I mean, most guys, I don't know about Greg, but like the majority of our team, we pray before the game, which is pretty beautiful. So every guy is pretty much Christian. It's just getting them to look deeper into, okay, well, what was the first Christian church and what happened and when did that break off, and just kind of getting a little deeper. So the guys are questioning what they believe a little bit and looking past just, this is the Bible and it dropped down from heaven and it's here, like who put the Bible together, things like that, I think is a little eye opening for guys.
Do you think there's a different culture for different teams with regard to religion, spirituality? Like, would the Chiefs be different from the Rams?
I don't know. I've only been with the Panthers and the Chiefs, but I'd say the Chiefs. I mean, it's a very family oriented. I'd say it's a Christian/Mormon team. So I don't know. I mean, I think maybe teams. I don't know. California, is that a little different over there, Greg?
No, I think it's basically what you said. We don't have any Mormons that I know of, and so I believe everyone is basically Christian. Not everybody attends either a Protestant Bible study or comes to Mass, but if you just ask the locker room, I think most guys would say, if not 100%, would say they're Christian.
Yeah.
And Greg, do the Protestants just get a kind of a generic pastor or Bible study leader, or do they each have their own? I mean, like, if you're
they have, they have one minister. I don't even know is a minister what you call a Protestant leader.
I like that you don't know that, Greg. I like that you don't know that. He's so Catholic.
Worship guru.
He's so Catholic. He doesn't even know.
Yeah. They have one guy who comes in, and that's one thing I'll ask him. Like, there's 45,000 Protestant denominations. How does one guy touch on all your beliefs? Because if there's one God, Jesus, shouldn't we be searching for the one true church that he established and not just all hunky-dory getting along? And so, but yeah, they just have one guy, and I don't know how he curtails his sermons to fit each one of them, or if it's just more of a general speech. I'm not sure. I haven't heard.
There seems to be a rule of thumb in the NBA, which, like I said, I watch a lot more closely, follow more closely than the NFL. And though I do love NFL football. And the rule of thumb seems to me, as far as I can tell, as an outsider looking in, that goes like this. I'm not quite so sure that the NBA is as generically God friendly as you're saying the NFL still sort of is, in a deistic, divine clockmaker way, where most guys will still pay some lip service to it. I think you get the benefit of the Midwest and the South and all that in football that you might not get in basketball. I'm not sure, but where men are Christians in professional basketball, there's an underlying assumption that they'll be Protestant, right? This does seem to be, Catholics are very rare. I've seen a picture of Kendrick Perkins from OKC and the Celtics in altar boy garb. I guess he was an altar boy all the way through college or something, which is hilarious if you know Kendrick Perkins. He's got that scowl. Yeah. But that was exciting to see, and they actually put it up on the screen on NBA and TnT. But that's very rare. I mean, there are 1.2 billion nominal Catholics in the world, and we all four of us, I know I'm describing a common experience, we're surprised when we run into someone outside of church that's like, I'm Catholic. That has to be an even more stark experience for you guys, like in the NFL, where if you talk to somebody, you're assuming they're a Christian, or Harrison in Kansas City, I guess a Mormon, that's religiously observant at all. Is that right? Is it safe to assume that if you're talking to a Christian in pro sports, they're probably a Southern Baptist Protestant or something like that?
Yeah, I think you rarely run into Catholics. And if they are Catholics, like, they go to mass maybe, but you would never know from being a fan that they were Catholic. It's kind of a secret thing. But yeah, I think the majority of people are Protestant that I've experienced. And even meeting Greg, like, I was so pumped to find out that you were Catholic, because we met and you just never think to ask or whatever. But yeah, it's awesome.
Isn't Kobe Bryant a Catholic, Tim?
Yeah, he is.
On the books?
He is. Yeah. He goes to a parish in, I think, often North County, San Diego, that a good high school buddy of mine goes to. And he's all over North County, San Diego, and southern Orange County. And by all over, I just mean he goes to mass in different places. So no slander here. Yeah. So, but is that safe to say even on the Rams? So we are trying to ascertain here what Taylor asked. Team to team, how different is the culture? We're pure outsiders. It's very interesting. You have to understand this looking in. On the Rams, do you get a little bit less of the generic sort of Protestant feel that you do get in Kansas City? Kansas City also is somewhat Catholic. But how is it for you, Greg?
I would say it's mainly Protestant. I think on the team there's 3 to 4 players that will attend mass every week, and then maybe 4 or 5 staff and coaches. So throughout the league, I would assume the demographics are going to be about the same. At the Pro Bowl a couple years ago, that was the biggest mass I've seen with NFL players, and it still wasn't that big. Maybe 20. And so I would assume it's like that, just going from team to team, talking to other guys. Like, I didn't know Harrison was Catholic when we played him this year. No idea. And it's just one of those things, unless people are very outspoken about it, that you don't know. Like, I think I can only name Rivers as the one guy in the NFL. I'm like, all right, that guy's Catholic. And I think it's pretty much like that for most teams.
You guys are both young. You're successful. You're at the top of your industry and your career. What made you be a Catholic who's the one who goes there every Sunday? And, just talking to you already, I can tell that you're well-read and you keep abreast of Catholic news and you've studied Catholic theology. It's a serious part of your life. Greg, you have 4 kids. Did you have a deep conversion or a reversion anywhere in your life? Were you raised Catholic? Why are you one of the every Sunday Catholics in the NFL?
I think just being raised like that from the time I was born. I was born into a big family went to Catholic grade school, high school, my whole life. And so it's just kind of the way things always were. You just kind of went with it. And at some point, whether it's in grade school, high school, or college, when you actually really get tested about starting to ask more questions about why is it that I'm doing what I'm doing. And then that's when you start reading more, doing your own research to say, all right, I've been doing this kind of blindly, if you will, because that's what I was raised to do. And then as you get older, you're like, okay, why am I doing this? Then you discover, all right, this is the one true religion. And I think being raised with great parents gave me a little easier step through that doorway. Some people just need, a little bit more of a push. And by no way, I'm not perfect. I mean, I've fallen off the wagon plenty of times, but that's what the sacraments are for. Confession's a great gift from God. And I think really just being raised in it. I don't really know how else better way to put that.
Maybe
Harrison.
How many siblings do you have, Greg?
I'm the youngest of 5.
Great. Cool.
Yeah. So I was raised Catholic, and actually I went to a Catholic elementary school, and I think it was in middle school or high school where I was just like so fed up with the liturgy, and it looked so just fake and kumbaya. And I was like, man, this doesn't look like, that piece of bread is actually Jesus up there. Like, this isn't an actual sacrifice. And this is kind of funny. I wanted to convert to Islam because I was like, I know the true religion isn't Hinduism because there's multiple gods, and it's not Judaism. And so I was like, well, Islam, there's something real happening there. It just looked real to me. Like, these guys were devout, worshipers of their religion. Luckily, my parents didn't let me do that.
How old were you? How old were you when you wanted to become a Muslim?
I was in middle school or high school,
right?
And my parents were pretty freaked out. But when I went to high school, I was doing travel soccer, and so we just kind of stopped going to mass on Sunday, unfortunately. And then when I got to college, I was like, man, I'm free. I'm not going to mass at all. And then, long story short, guy joined the football team, Grand Asen. He was on fire about the faith and got me to go back to church and mass. And I was like, man, this is like so old school and boring. Like, I don't want to be here. But the liturgy was great. And then finally, after a while, I just said, you know what? Looking at the examination of conscience, I'm just going to surrender and say these are all sins. And I went to confession, and that's kind of what changed my life. And then that turned my life around. And then I started reading more and more. And I was like, man, this is true, completely true. Met with a priest, very smart guy. Then that kind of convinced me of the faith. And then from there on, I've been a practicing Catholic. But yeah, the liturgy pushed me away, and then seeing beautiful liturgy and seeing this is a sacrifice. This is Jesus's body up on the altar. That kind of got me really interested. And then I started just reading and reading.
So the kind of liturgies you saw as a teenager, they were just sort of the go make a difference, kumbaya, architecture, all that. Yeah. And then when you saw traditional liturgy, was it like a Latin mass, or what were you exposed to later on?
No, it was a Novus Ordo liturgy, but the chaplain there, he does Ad Orientem for the Easter season, and then from there they've started to do the Latin Mass like once a month. So I kind of went to it, and I was like, our Novus Ordo liturgy was so good. I was like, I don't really see that much of a difference with this. But then when I left the Catholic Center at Georgia Tech and I was with the Panthers and the Chiefs, I pretty much just went to a bunch of different websites of Catholic churches. And I was like, all right, if this church offers a Latin Mass, I know the priest is going to be solid. And then I just go there. And then now we've been going to the Latin Mass for the past year or so. But like you said, you kind of have to go to it for a while. And then once you're used to it, you're like, man, this is beautiful. It's
kind of like beer. You got to drink it a few times to really get into it. Yeah, Kansas City has a ton of Latin Masses. That's like Latin Mass Mecca of America right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Ton of diocesan parishes are doing both.
Yeah.
I always said that evangelizing under the Novus Ordo is they're not making our jobs easy. It reminds me of like in the Bush presidency, and if I was older, it would have been the Bush presidencies, but it's kind of like defending conservatism there. It's like, I don't really even want it. How did I wind up defending this? I make fun of this every week. And my job as, again, a Catholic man about the world is to say, like, hey, you guys should be Catholic. And they're like, really? With your with your Pope that's talking about socialism, with your liturgy that sounds like
Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yeah, Peter, Paul, and Mary. Like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do this? And it's like, well, there's an answer to that question, of course, but it's a little embarrassing because I don't really want to be associated with these guys. Like, I don't think George W. Bush is a conservative. I don't really think that this is the best Catholicism has to offer. So it is a real conundrum, isn't it? I mean, what do you do? People think you're weird, and they're not all wrong when you're talking about the Novus Ordo.
Well, it speaks to the fervency of Muslims. I mean, they say that at the mosque there's more men than women, whereas in Catholicism it's the opposite. It's more women than men, and I can see a young man or teenager or college kid being inspired by that kind of devotion. And we should ask ourselves, maybe we should kick it up during Lent, and it should be hardcore. Maybe we should revise asceticism and talk about Desert Fathers and the struggle. Because, I mean, if you're an athlete, if you're on track to the NFL, you get the struggle. You realize that life isn't just, I'll just kick once a week and I'll get to the NFL. It's not how things work. And if you're going to get to heaven, if you're going to be a saint, you gotta struggle, and these guys get that. So I just wish our leadership in the church would realize young men and young women need to be inspired by something that's rigorous and not soft.
And it even was. Well, I was going to say real quick, it wasn't even until college where I met a priest, a chaplain at Georgia Tech, that was like a man that I would look up to. He was a man that could have been married, that could have had kids. My whole life I was around priests that were like, this guy is a little off, like maybe the priesthood is the only thing that he could be doing right now. Exactly. Like, it wasn't something that I aspired to be, So that was kind of my experience.
You could be honest on this show, dude. Like, yeah, you could be like, yeah, this priest is. If he were the locker room chaplain, I'd be a little uncomfortable with him in the locker room. Like, could we do the little pregame prayer outside the locker room, Father? Yeah, that's a lot of the Novus Ordo priests that all of us grew up with. So just for the record, Harrison, you're coming back to the Chiefs next year as Harrison Butker, not Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, right?
Correct, yeah. I've not changed my name.
Remember when Chris Jackson did that? Well, you guys might be. Chris Jackson for the Denver Nuggets came back one year. He reported for training camp, and they're like, "What's up, Chris?" He was like, "No, it's Mahmoud." And then they spent the first half of the season like introducing him as Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, and everyone's like, "This guy looks just like Chris Jackson." Of course, Kareem did it. Yeah, but it's true that Islam offers at least one thing Catholicism in 2019 doesn't, and it's okay to say. It's okay to know your enemy and to do what they say. They get the idea. I think it's Peter Kraft that always makes the point. Why is it okay? Why can young men embrace chastity if they're boxers before a fight, but no other time? Right? Islam gets that, whether or not they're living it. Is this a fair characterization of why there's at least one thing in Islam that all of us young men who played sports and like toughness, is this attractive? Because I think it is. I'm with you.
Yeah, definitely. And like the priest at the Catholic Center, I mean, every homily was like a challenge to like up your ante kind of, and coming from where I was from, it was just like, just show up on Sunday, and you don't even have to do that. As long as you kind of have an interest in God, you're good. But yeah, I mean, from the sports background, you're always being pushed. The guys that are the best athletes are the ones that are challenging themselves the most, and then like for religion, I mean, that's obviously way more important than sports. You should be challenging yourself even more with that, with the spiritual life. Yeah,
for sure.
So
Greg,
I was gonna one comment. Saint John of Damascus, he's 700s. He actually said that Muslims compared to Catholics were effeminate because Lent was so much harder than Ramadan back then. Now it's not that way, but back then, they had no meat. I mean, they had no meat, no cheese, no eggs. They didn't eat till 3 p.m. every day during Lent. It was extreme fasting. And so for them, Ramadan, they didn't eat till nightfall, and they're like, "That's so weak. Y'all are effeminate." Nowadays, it's the Muslims who look hardcore, and we look effeminate. It's sad. We need to get back to the hardcore.
Yeah, I guess I saw the way they worshiped, like on their knees, and everyone, like you said, all the men were there, and then all the fasting and all that stuff. Like, I don't know, if you were Muslim, like everybody knew that you were fasting for that day. I'm not sure of all the names, but like, yeah, with Catholics, even during Lent, I'm sure Catholics aren't even speaking up about, oh, I'm not eating meat because it's Friday, or I'm not fasting because it's Ash Wednesday. I mean, I'd say most Protestants wouldn't even really know that Catholics are doing that or supposed to be doing that.
I did an interview. You can go read it up on 1 Peter 5 with Iron Mike Ditka a few months back. Greg, I think I told Plants to send that to you. Maybe I didn't. I thought I did. But anyway, and then we tried to have him back on the show, right? And it didn't really work out because at some point between then, Taylor and I have these conspiracy theories what happened, and we kind of talked to him that morning, but he was like, no, I don't want to be on Skype the morning of. He was like, I don't want a picture or a video or whatever. And we were like, okay, that's cool. But the nature of the answers kind of changed. I don't know if he just found out about Taylor Marshall or anything I've written, but the answers got really watered down. He was on, I had a great talk with him for 1 Peter 5 interview. It was like manliness, men need to return to being leaders and all this stuff. And I was like, there's a WNBA. Do you want to ever see a WNFL? Like, I knew what he'd say. I was just trying to get him riled up, but the answers changed. So there's real pressure is my point on guys in their pressure groups. I don't know if you feel it day to day, but again, to go back to the NBA, like Kevin Durant, after every game interview, whenever he'd win a game for OKC when he's still there, it was first thing he'd say right out the box. First thing, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. It was in between, I think, 2010 and 2011 seasons that just stopped. And it's like, well, I don't think this is his faith. Is there? I don't know. It might be an NBA thing, and maybe I'm just speculating here. This is pure opinion, but what kind of pressure or pressure groups is there to get people that are talking too much about it beyond some benign small amount to shut up? Is there any? Maybe there's none of that in the NFL. I don't know, but I don't hear anyone preaching that much. Tebow got Tebow'd, right? I mean, he got a lot of downward force. What do you think about it? Do either of you guys know Tim Tebow? Greg?
No, I don't know Tim personally at all. I just watched him play like the rest of us. I don't think there's pressure to not be Catholic, just like there's no pressure to not be Protestant or any other religion. Really, I think everyone kind of just goes along to get along, if you will. I wish I could give you a better answer, but I don't feel like there's any pressure from any source to not believe what you want to believe and be who you are.
How about if you started really I'm not suggesting to do this or whatever. I know I've been impressed by both of you guys' knowledge and piety, so this is a strict hypothetical. What if a guy started really ramping it up to Tebow-like levels, right? I feel like just he got owned. I even who's that old halfback for the Steelers? Merrill Hodge. I was surprised with just some of the ferocity of anti-Tebow stuff that came out in 2010, 2011. What if a guy ramped it up to that kind of level? We're strictly speculating here. I understand the NFL's friendly and all that, and maybe it would be friendly if someone were really openly evangelistic. But it seems to me, broadly speaking, in the popular culture, there is a line that's insinuated by separation of church and state, where it's like, we're at the point in history in 2019 where you can be a person with a following, popular celebrity of some sort, and you'll kind of be left alone if you're privately pious or devoted to a faith. But if you get beyond some like KT boundary, I don't know where it is, I feel like that's where the pressure kicks in. And again, this is speculation from the outside in. What do you think about that?
I can see that. I think once you'd reach a certain level, kind of like Tebow, you would kind of get railroaded. Mainly, I would say from the media. I think the media is what drives that. I don't personally know this, but I don't feel like his teammates would be pressuring him. They might make fun of him in jest, but that's going to happen no matter what you do. I think mainly it came from the media, and so I think if I would or Harrison would do that, I don't think it would be a problem with our teammates at all. We know each other well enough, and no one cares about really anything. It's all the outside sources, the outside noise is where you're going to get that reaction.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's from the media. It's from the outside. I mean, a lot of the times the locker room is so tight knit that you are free to be open and say whatever you want. But with the media, I think, Greg, there's probably certain things that we can't just be tweeting out or putting on Instagram, just like some hot button topics that probably would fire back on us. But obviously we believe them. It's just, I don't know, like watching y'all on Twitter and stuff, like there's things that I'd love to get into, but it's just like, I don't know, with the platform we have, it's probably not the best way of just being able to like go out there, I guess.
Yeah, that's why I don't do social media. Social media is, I don't know, not a fan of it.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's dangerous for athletes.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, one, no matter what you say, people are gonna hate you for it, and then two, if you don't perform well at your job, people are gonna hate you for it. So, what's the point?
Yeah.
Do y'all, as high profile NFL players, do you have people that dox you or message your family or anything like that? Any sort of harassment?
I mean,
go ahead, Harrison.
Well, as kickers, I mean, it's pretty plain and simple. Like if you miss a kick and it's a big kick, you're going to get a lot of message and stuff. So actually, I mean, my wife actually does a good job. If if I miss a kick, like the Ravens game, I missed a kick, like she'll go through and she'll kind of handle the stuff. So I don't have to be reading it. But I tend not to look at a lot of the comments. It's like, I'm going to say what I want to say, and then reading the comments. I mean, I'm not interested in that. But yeah, as a kicker, it's tough. Like you're going to get hate mail and you're going to miss big kicks. It's just going to happen. Gonna happen, and it doesn't matter how hard you work that week. It's like if you miss, guys are like, "Oh, you don't care." It's like even if I was to prepare as well as I could, it was perfect scenario outside and everything. It's still not 100% probability I'm gonna make this kick. It's like it's not a for sure thing.
Yeah.
So before the kick, do kickers get trash talked at all? I mean, because you're only out there, you got to be used to coming off the bench, even if you're a first string kicker. So do the defensive linemen try to trash talk here or what? I mean, you could get in someone's head for 4 kicks a game, right?
Yeah, they don't for me. I don't know about you, Greg.
Normally I don't hear them, but my teammates will tell me that, hey, this guy's been saying a lot of stuff, or the other sideline will be talking, and you don't hear it in the game. You're so focused on what you're doing. But
kicks are so, on off, you get it or you don't. Are you guys like rocking Hail Marys? Are you praying at all? Or are you just thinking about the kick? Like what's going on in your head?
Yeah. I was going to say, I probably get through like 3 rosaries on the sideline on Sundays.
I Plans told me that. Do you? Yeah.
So are you praying? Are you praying right there when you're lined up on the ball, or are you totally on the kick right there?
No. Once I go on the field and I'm getting lined up, that's where I need to be focused solely on what I need to do to make the ball go through the uprights. Yeah. But you spend 99% of your time on the sideline, and so I pray on the sideline.
Rosaries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and on the sideline, at least for me, I try to be as removed from the game and the scenario and the pressure of what's going on as much as possible. So I'm trying to get away from the game as much as I can. And then, like Greg said, when I'm going out to the field, I'm trying to be in this zone where I don't even know what's going on. Like you don't really hear much. And I think ideally you don't even know the score. You don't know the scenario. It's just a kick and I got to make it,
Interesting.
But yeah, on the sideline, I've definitely gone through a rosary before.
That's fascinating. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
You guys, I probably should have gotten this out of the way up front, but I'm assuming both of you guys were soccer players, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgive both of you because you're cool guys. When I lived in Europe, I would talk so much trash on soccer. I'd go into a pub and they'd have a game on and the score would be like 0-0. And I'd be talking to some priests, and they'll, well, you know, it's Europe, they're nuts for soccer. And I'd be like, what's the score now? And they'd be like 0-0. I'd be like, cool. And like 30 minutes later, I'd be like, what's the score, bro? And they'd be like 0-0. I'd be like, oh, really? Are we watching a different game? Or what? They didn't like that. But no, all kickers are pretty much ex-soccer players. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Every person I've talked to has a soccer background, at least in the NFL. I don't think I've ever ran across someone who didn't play soccer.
Yeah. It's a necessary evil, as they say. Yeah, no, I mean, to kick well at a high level, you just had to have been trained in soccer, right?
Yeah, you just have your natural swing. I don't think you trained in soccer. You just go out there and play, and you develop a swing.
Yeah.
So I'd like to hear from each of you. What's your the best kick, the one that you remember the most memorable kick? It could be college or NFL, whatever.
Probably for me, so I was with the Panthers in 2017, and I was on their practice squad. And then week 4, I got picked up by the Chiefs, and I'm just staying in the hotel that whole week before the game. And then we had a Monday night game against the Redskins, and I missed my very first kick in the NFL. But that actually helped me, I think, because then I was like, well, I've already missed, got that out of the way. And then in the second half, I made like two field goals, I think. And then I had the field goal to win the game. Yeah, at the end of the game. So cool. Yeah, probably that one. It was pretty surreal. I mean, just being like, growing up a football fan and then finally being, on an NFL team and on that stage, it took a couple games to like really sink in that I was in the NFL.
Yeah, for me, obviously the NFC Championship kick. Before, I never really had a kick that stuck out, but I think just to be able to help the team reach the Super Bowl with that will always stick out in my memory. It was such an exciting feeling, and so I think that'll stick out. And I'm sure there's a few more, but at the end of the day, it's kicking. So one kick at a time.
That's great. How long was the kick?
It was amazing.
How long was it?
57.
And then your next one in the playoffs where you hit 2 in a row, and it was like the excitement was building, right? And that was amazing. It was amazing to be in anywhere in Southern California for NFC Championship game, and even in the you performed very well.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, it was exciting. My wife cried.
Did she? It was dope. It was really cool.
Yeah.
So are your wives Catholic, speaking of?
Yeah. I met my wife in high school. We both went to Pius, which is a Catholic high school in Lincoln, Nebraska. And that's where we met and went from there. Kind of just dated for a bunch of years and finally got married. And now we have a bunch of kids. And she went to Catholic grade school as well. So there's really no converting or really anything. I think it was just, hey, you're Catholic, I'm Catholic, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Lincoln's very Catholic. And isn't parochial school free in Lincoln?
It is not free.
Okay.
The way it's kind of set up, the diocese reimburses the high school and the grade schools, and so if you're Catholic, there's a suggested pay amount or what you have to pay. Mm-hmm. But if you have needs and you can't reach that, there'll be exceptions made, obviously. At least I believe that was the case, and that's what I've always heard. I haven't been told otherwise, and so it's one of those things where almost, I wouldn't say socialism, but just a community of Catholics that support one another.
Yeah, that's great. I've heard that Lincoln, Nebraska is the only place where the kind of 1950s parochial school system is still kind of intact.
Yeah.
Nowhere else in the U.S., just in Lincoln.
Yeah, if you go to the high school or the grade schools, the cost is way lower than, say, you just go down the road to Omaha, which is where I went to college, go into a Catholic high school there, or even in St. Louis. It's like $15,000 to $20,000 a year to go to a Catholic high school. And I'm like, when I went, I think it was like $900 a year or something like that. It's probably up a little bit since then, maybe $1,400 or something like that. But
when
it's still comparatively very low.
Yeah, I mean, you got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kids. You know, that's a big chunk of change to send your kids. That's why people don't send their kids to Catholic schools so much. If you have a large family, you homeschool or you try to find a good public situation, but it's a rough go.
That's one of the reasons why my wife and I decided that when this NFL thing is done, we're going to live in Lincoln.
Yeah,
because we know there's good Catholic schools. We both went to Catholic grade schools in high school, and then it's affordable to send them there. You're not going to be spending $100,000 every year to send your kids to school. And it's like that's not sustainable. Yeah. Even I'm blessed to have a good job now, but that will dwindle. I mean, it's not forever league, and so just being able to have affordable Catholic schools, I think, is huge, and that's why Lincoln's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Also, Lincoln, the only diocese in the U.S., I believe, that does not have altar girls. I think that's right.
Yeah, there's no altar girls.
No altar girls.
No.
So I think they're the only diocese in the U.S. that doesn't have them. So
I did not know that, but I know that. I've never seen an altar girl.
Well, say.
You know what one is, though, right? You're like,
I do know what one is.
They're different species. Yeah. And
you got your first one, right?
Yeah. He's 4 weeks old.
Born in the playoffs or born in the postseason?
No, it was the week after we lost in the AFC Championship game. Wow. Yeah. So we lost on Sunday, and then he came 12:30 a.m. on Sunday the next week. But I met my wife in high school. We actually started dating when I was a freshman and she was a sophomore. We dated for 7 years, and then in college, kind of when I had my reversion, she was not Catholic. When I had my reversion to the faith, we kind of broke up over that. She was like, you turned into a different person and you kind of changed all your viewpoints. And we weren't living a Christian or Catholic relationship at that time. So we broke up for like 6 months, and I was praying a rosary for her every day for her conversion. And then finally one day she just said, I think I want to convert. And that was pretty amazing that she said that. And then I was like, Izzy, I've been praying for you for this moment, for this to happen. She came full circle from where she was. So she came into the church about 2 years ago at the Georgia Tech Catholic Center. And we've been Catholic ever since, obviously, and just had our first child. We got married right after the 2017 season. So in February, and now, we got our first son, James Augustine Butker. So love to have a big family.
Awesome.
It's beautiful. So you started dating when you were still Muslim. That was a change.
Exactly. Yeah.
But he was at RCIA with the Muslims.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Both of you guys met your wives in high school. That's neat.
That's what I always like. When I meet a guy who married a girl that he met in high school, I always know it's a good guy.
Yeah.
I like those guys. Yeah.
They're the statistics are very, very, very good for people to get married out of a high school relationship. Yeah, I met my wife like one of her very last few days of high school. I was 12 or 14 years older, would zoom around the high school. No, I mean, I was like a college sophomore, but I met her a couple days before she graduated. So I'm technically kind of half one of you guys. No, but the numbers are very good on people did you know that meet in high school? They stay together. The divorce rate's like near the floor for people that meet their girlfriends.
So would you let your children start dating in high school if they met a good Catholic person? Because I don't know how I feel about that either.
No, I don't think so. I think met in high school is good. Dating in high school, in this day and age, no way.
You're too far away from getting married.
No way.
I would. I mean, this is a thing. This is actually an issue that I'm just coming across as a teacher. Like I like people getting married. Yeah, I mean, the Virgin Mary was 15. So dating age.
Yeah, but she wasn't dating God.
Yeah, but I mean, she's prepared. But dating is really courtship, right? So I mean,
that's
are they allowed?
Yeah, courtship.
But it's a vocation. I'll be honest with you. This is a major issue. Parents standing in the way of vocations. Like it doesn't matter so much whether your dating age of the household is 16 or 18. I think the more interesting issue is college. The hot button issue is people can definitely date in college or else it's weird. And once you are of dating age, even the Catechism says this, it's like, this is discerning a vocation. A lot of parents of even good conservative families are like, okay, well, no getting married through this. It's like, when it happens, it happens. I didn't get married in college, but my brother did. And, irrespective of what the household dating age is, for us, it will probably be this sort of standard 16, and keep a close eye and make sure it's very Catholic. But the interesting issue is people that meet, first year of college, and then they're like, okay, yeah, we're both Catholic, we're both good, we're pretty much ready to go. There's even the UC campuses used to have married student housing. It's sort of going by the wayside as the culture of death spreads. But a lot of good, solid conservative parents are like deathly opposed to even college kids getting married in college. So it's an interesting issue. I didn't expect for it to come up so much with ex-students of mine or just young people that I hear of, relatives in general. There's an attack on marriage in the culture, and there's always in the popular culture, there's always this trickle down effect that even some of it even gets into conservatism or Catholicism or whatever. There's just a lot of anti-marriage sentiment where you hear a lot of conservatives saying, "Oh, I want my young girl to get a master's degree or a doctorate before she even considers anything." It's like you're pushing the age of marriage back to middle 20s, 30, and that's just, if you look at women's fecundity charts, their fertility just drops. It's an interesting question. It's funny you ask, but yeah, it's something I've been thinking about a great deal lately. I just think, when young people, they meet in high school, you don't develop a bunch of bad habits. This is why I was saying I admire that both of you met your wives in high school. It's like, whether you date short or long, you're with each other pretty much that whole time. You don't develop a bunch of bad habits. When men get old, they develop a certain kind of bad habit if they're not married. When women get old, they tend to develop a different kind of bad habits if they're unmarried. It's beautiful when two young people find each other and then they're kind of grow up, come of age together. You can even do that as you're married. It's a life process. So I salute both of you for marrying the high school girl with a girlfriend. Got to say that carefully.
Definitely not easy. There's going to be bumps in the road always. I mean, my wife and I, we had a couple breaks in there, but we always stayed in touch. And I think the fruits pay off knowing that she's been with me through thick and thin. And so when you just have that long history together, I think marriage is, I guess my wife may tell you differently. I think it's very easy right now. The kids make it tough, but we signed up for it. And so as they get older, we'll see. I think we'll grow and go through the challenges together. But I think, just having that background is awesome.
How old are your kids?
My oldest will turn 5 next week. And then, so currently 4, 3, 2, and a newborn. And so not much spacing in there.
That's pretty good. I like it.
Yeah. It's
packing them in tight.
Yeah. We have a lot of fun. Got very full hearts. But it is challenging on various days, I will tell you.
Yeah. Christmas is fun, right?
Yeah. Christmas is awesome. The joy and belief that children have is spectacular, and you can't help but be happy at their joy. Otherwise, you're just a Scrooge because it's awesome.
Yeah, I actually think my Christmases now, age 40, are more fun than when I was a kid because I got all the kids and they're opening the presents and I'm putting together all this stuff, and I don't know, it's just magical. I love it.
Yep, I agree.
Yep. What about the you guys play on Thanksgiving and holidays and all that? Is that tough? Do y'all make time other times? How does that work out?
I have been very fortunate to not have to play on Thanksgiving or Christmas. I've always had either the day off or the morning off, so I get to spend time with the family. And then if I have to fly out later on Christmas Day or come back late Christmas Eve, it's always worked out, fortunately. And so maybe Harrison has played on one of those days, but for me, it's been easy.
Yeah, I haven't played on Christmas or Thanksgiving, and actually this past year, our bye week was over Thanksgiving, so I was still able to be with family and everything. But I think one of the reasons why a lot of guys leave the faith if they're a professional athlete is just because you're playing on the holidays, you're playing on Christmas, and for football, like a lot of these coaches, they work 7 days a week. I mean, we're pretty much working 7 days a week, but we're not able to go into an actual church to see mass celebrated for 6 months at a time. You know, it's like you slowly start to fade. And again, like, you know, the liturgy can only be so beautiful in a, hotel room, you know, on a table or something, you know, but it's
like
difficult. I can imagine. Right? Yeah, I mean, I'm only 2 years in, but some of these coaches that have been coaching for forever, I think that's just super tough. Like, I understand how you could fade away from that, just being detached from a parish and beauty, and football is almost your God now.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the greatest joys is to, you know, go to Mass and fill up the pew with the family, you know, and have lunch together afterwards and all that. Those are some good times. And that was kind of my main question coming into this chat with you guys is, you know, how does just NFL life, which is huge. I mean, the NFL, man, that's everybody watches the NFL, but it's a Sunday. It's a Sunday sport. Right. And, you know, I guess the college is different because you got Saturdays, but in the NFL, it's Sunday. Do y'all like the idea of it moving to Monday and other nights in the week? I know they've been talking more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd definitely be down for that. I'd love to have 1 day a week Sunday, because like now we try to treat like Monday like our Sunday. You know, like we try to just not go to the facilities and just be together as a family. But it's tough because, you know, you want to do that on Sunday, but you can't.
Yeah, that's it. I would like it. It's not going to happen. I mean, football is religion in America. People wake up on Sunday. They don't go to Mass. They watch football. And so if it could move, that would be great. But it's such an established tradition. I mean, if it could all be Monday, that'd be great. I'm not a huge fan of having the Thursday night games. Obviously, you play on Sunday, and then it's basically you don't even practice throughout the week because it's more important to get your bodies back for the Thursday night game. And so you're just doing walkthroughs and trying to kick in between there. It's tough trying to figure out a day. And if they could get rid of that day, that would be great. But I wouldn't be opposed to a move altogether.
Yeah. It's like 3 days a week now. You understand the NFL is a business expanding their market share of days. When it was like Sunday with one Monday night game, that's what it was growing up, watching the one Monday night game. Then it became two Monday night games and a Thursday game. Then in the playoffs, you start getting Saturday games. So you understand what they're doing, but it had to be way more convenient for NFL family life when it's pretty much confined to Sunday, except for 2 teams per week. It seems like the NFL is a much more family-oriented league to me than the NBA. Part of it's just because of the travel. I mean, travel is central to. It's like a commute. In the NBA, you're flying all over the country like half the week. It's got to be decent. I mean, you're in Kansas City most of the time. You're in LA most of the time, right? And it's a long off season. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's what makes the NFL so family friendly. I feel like it's very family friendly. The 2 coaches that I've had in the NFL always include the family at the facility. They'll, you know, bring in the kids, bring in the wives. You can do whatever. In the other major leagues like hockey, baseball, basketball, you're traveling constantly. I know with baseball players, I don't even know how they would have a family where they're in a different city staying for 5 days and they're playing 9 months out of the year.
Long season.
Yeah. So, I mean, it would be very difficult for them. The NFL, just the nature of the game, such a physical game, you only 16 games. You just have more time to be with your family in the city that you're in instead of traveling constantly.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, at training camp, all the wives are on the field after the game with the kids. And then I can't imagine like with basketball or baseball, I mean, sometimes you're in another city for 4 days at a time, and a lot of those guys don't even have a house in the city that they're playing in. But yeah, from what I've seen, a lot of the guys are married with families. They're family oriented, which has been great. So yeah, it's probably the best sport I'd say in America to be family oriented, just with the schedule.
And the wives hang out? I mean, do your wives have friends that are wives of other teammates?
Oh yeah, definitely. Andy Reid's wife, Tammy, does a great job setting up different events. Yeah, I mean, we're only 1.5 seasons in with the Chiefs, and Izzy already feels really integrated with all the wives and the families. So, and a lot of the guys live in the same area in Kansas City as well. So, it's nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, how about you, Greg? Are the LA Rams wives more Los Angelinos, or are they more football folk?
I would say they're more football folk. For me, being 7 going into year 8, and then as well as a specialist, there's, my wife will hang out with the same people, and then there's always new, fresh faces coming in every year with the rookies and their girlfriends and wives, and all the wives do a great job of getting together and including everyone. They'll have their Christmas parties and wives get-togethers, and so it's very, very friendly. I know my wife feels included, and she enjoys spending time with the other wives because it's easy to relate to, knowing, hey, my husband's at work all this time, or look, they're on the road this weekend, and it's easier to relate to those things when she's in the business, and so she enjoys it.
Commiseration, yeah. Antonio Brown, yeah. Go ahead.
Okay,
sorry.
So when you guys were younger, you're soccer players. I mean, did there's so many kids like, oh, I want to be an NFL player, NBA player. Was that ever in your mind? Or did you ever have that high standard in your mind that I want to go and pursue that one day, and you were always driven to it? Or is it one of the things that when you're in college sports, it started to open up to you?
For me, I wanted to be a professional soccer player, and then I kind of just got burned out with soccer in high school, and all the boys played football, and Izzy said that'd be kind of cool if I joined the football team, so I went ahead and joined and was just kicking, and I was also playing basketball, Tim, so I had that going for me a little bit, but I kind of wanted to play like D3 basketball just because I loved it so much, but as I kept playing football in high school, I kept getting better, and then got scholarship offers. So then played in college and everything. But with any sport that I played, I think, I was always trying to be the best I could at it. So I always think, like, why play a sport if you're not trying to be a professional and try to be the best? I mean, I don't know. I guess I was raised to, I'm playing the sport because it's fun, but I don't want to be on the field if I'm not putting my best out there. And I'm going to aspire to be the best at whatever sport I am doing.
Yeah, I agree with what Harrison said. I didn't start thinking about professional sports like seriously until I got to college. I mean, in grade school, high school, you always joke around like, yeah, I would like to do this. And like Harrison said, I wanted to play professional soccer, but I also got burnt out in going into high school. And you can't play in Nebraska. Football and soccer are both in the fall club-wise. So my club soccer team and my high school football team, so I couldn't do both. And then I just went from there. I didn't really think about the NFL until I got to college when a scout showed up after my sophomore year and asked to see film on me. And I was like, all right, maybe I can do this. And from there, I started taking it more seriously.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, not bad. It worked out.
And what's pardon me for not knowing, but what's the longevity of a kicker? And do you ever get hurt? I mean, are there any injuries? I've never heard of any, but I'm not too aware of the kicker position. Like what does a career look like for you guys?
One bad kick and you're out is the longevity. And injuries do happen, yes. I've gotten hurt quite a few times in my career, whether I missed games from them or not. No. I mean, I've gotten hurt and just played through it because there's only one kicker on the team. That's what you have to do. And so I think every kicker is like that in the NFL. There's been a lot of, I feel like in the last 2 years, a lot of people have gotten groin or quad strains and had to miss time. That's very common for kickers. And so you may not notice it just because we're kind of obsolete on the side, but there's probably 3 or 4 or 5 kickers that get hurt every year, at least for a game or two. And so, you kind of have just to play through those sometimes, and you're not going to be at your best and make all your kicks during those situations, and people aren't going to know that. And it's just one of those things that you got to do, and people are going to think you're bad, even though you're fighting through and dealing with some stuff.
Right. I think a lot of times people on the outside think kickers are just kicking every day, like almost like we're basketball players working on our shooting or something. And like Greg said, the muscles that we're using to kick are so small, like your groin and your hip flexor especially, that if you're kicking too much, those things are going to go out on you, especially in an NFL season when you have 4 preseason games and then 16 regular season games and all the kicking during the week. Like, I think one of the things those veteran guys like Vinatieri and Greg, you've been in the league for a long time, they figured out their off-season schedule and then what they're doing during the week. Because if you're a young guy and you get hurt, I mean, you're missing a couple of games, then another guy steps in, and then you've lost your job already. Like Greg said, one missed big kick and you're kind of out. So it's tough. But staying healthy is super important, and you got to manage your body almost like a pitcher so you don't get injured.
Right. So, I mean, how many kicks a week would you do, or would you limit yourself to?
Yeah, so I kick on Tuesday and Thursday. Wednesday and Thursday. So I only kick twice a week, and I probably do 25, 30 field goals total both days with the warm-up and everything. So I'll hit my 8 to 10 with the team on Wednesday, 8 to 10 with the team on Thursday, and I'll warm up maybe 10 to 15 before, and that's it. But the bulk of, at least in my opinion, the bulk of your training should be the off season. So if I have a good off season and I'm feeling good at training camp, it's like, I've set that foundation for the season kind of. And then once the season hits, you're just maintaining.
Wow. That's surprising that you're kicking
what would you say, Greg, off from what you do?
I'm a bit different. I have developed different things throughout my career. I used to kick till my leg would fall off in high school, college, NFL, up until a few years ago. When I first got hurt, I was kicking way too much. Even at the start of this year, I was kicking too much because going into training camp, you get to kick basically as much as you want. And if I'm not hitting the ball exactly how I want it going into the season, I'm going to kick and kick and kick and kick. And I ended up getting hurt this year doing that. And I don't need to be doing that. I need to be smarter about it. And so now I've developed more of what Harrison does, where I'll kick 2 times a week and I'll hit 30 balls total, warm-ups included. So I'll hit my 6 with the team and then work with just a snap in the holder for 12 to 14 and then a few warm-up kicks before that. But it's more important just to be confident and healthy than let the rest take care of itself.
So I kick 30 field goals Wednesday, Thursday. That's 60 total field goals during the week. At a game, I mean, I'm probably hitting at least 30 to 40 in warm-up before like the game starts, and then I come out 5-10 minutes before the game and I hit another probably 8, and then I'm kicking in the net the whole game plus the top of another maybe 8 field goals total during the game, and then you add all the kickoffs. It's like when you play on Sunday, it's like a marathon. So I'm trying to super fresh Sunday. Yeah.
That is true. On like Sunday.
And then boom on Sunday. And then
the kick count on Sunday goes out the window. Kick as much as you want to feel ready.
Yeah, because on Sunday, I don't want to ever miss a kick because I feel like I didn't warm up enough. It's like on Sunday, I'll kick until my leg falls off because that one kick that I might get is the most important kick of my life, During the week, you just kind of try to chill as much as you can.
Yep.
Wow, that's cool.
Interesting.
If we think about quarterbacks and their arms, I mean, what about weather with your legs? Is that a consideration? Big consideration?
Yeah. In California, obviously, we get nice weather. But we do have a ton of wind. And so on days that it's going to be super windy and our field goal posts are on wheels, and it'll just blow them over. And so it's pointless. It's like, I'm not going to get good work in this. I'm going to develop a bad habit trying to fight with this much wind. And so we'll just scrap the field goal period completely. And the next day, if it's calm, we'll do it then. Unfortunately, we don't have an indoor yet, but normally we go inside on a day like that so you can see the true ball flight, because when you're in a stadium, there can be a lot of wind, but where we're at least, there's not going to be the 30-mile-an-hour wind straight sideways.
Yeah, I've noticed the wind's way worse in practice. I don't know if it's just because it's super open, but we won't scratch the field goal period, so we'll still kick, and it might be really ugly, and we'll go indoors and kick after that. But wind's definitely the biggest factor. Like, I'd much rather it be like drizzling or cold. Like, I'd much rather prefer that than super windy, because the fans don't know that. They just say, "Oh, he missed it," and you're like, "Well, just never deal with a ton of wind," you know? And it affects the ball flight. Yeah. Got to deal with it.
Well, cool. Well, I know you guys are busy, so we'll wrap up. But any parting words, particularly about the Catholic faith? I know a lot of people will watch this. Will be interested to hear, NFL players who are serious about, being Catholic, being true to the tradition, being Orthodox, being open to life, having large families. So, any parting words?
I guess I'll go. For me, just realizing that the Catholic faith is the truth, and I didn't get that through, not to bash youth life stuff, but like the kumbaya stuff that's just straight feelings. I mean, I guess that might be good initially, but just reading the traditional stuff has really changed me. Like Dr. Taylor, I'm reading the Catechism of the Council of Trent. I got the Baltimore Catechism for the kids, and it's like this stuff, the Catechism of the Council of Trent isn't easy, but the Baltimore Catechism, it's like, bam, this is what the faith is. It's super easy to understand. And that's really kind of changed my mindset to, man, like the church is 2,000 years of just smart scholars, the smartest ever created. Like this stuff isn't just kind of what we see now in our world today. And then like with getting married and having kids, like that it's going to be difficult. And the world tells us like, maybe don't do that. But we know for sure God's telling us to get married young if we know that's the right person for us, and to have big families. I mean, that's the most fulfilling thing. And you have to have faith, and you have to trust in God. But yeah, reading for me was huge, and then finding good liturgy and, trying to avoid abuses as much as you can at the Mass. But yeah, you almost just start to fall in love with it, and you see that Catholicism is this big, massive sea of stuff that, you got to dive into head first. Amen.
Love it.
Yeah, and especially maybe Greg, you could address this in parting. All of what Harrison said, I know you agree with, but especially in light of the conflation people do when they come up to you and they're like, I know you're Catholic. What's going on in the church with all this crisis? I know, Greg, that you're well versed in it because you've been a Church Militant fan, I think, longer than I have. What do you say? I mean, isn't that the answer to the question? It's like, I'm not talking about church men, dude. I'm talking about everything Harrison just said.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what is actually going on with the people in the church in the small scale. Like, hey, this bad thing happened. Yeah, it did, but that's not the church. I always like to say, you don't put your faith in men, put it in ideas. And the church is the idea. And we don't need one bad thing here or there dragging everything down. We have, like Harrison said, the 2,000 years of tradition, and that's not going anywhere. Same thing with attending Mass. I know it's tough sometimes, but try not to get caught up in what you may have a bad homily it's like, that didn't feel that great. It's not about feelings. The feelings are going to come and go. You're going to have times when you feel really holy and pious, and other times when you're like, I'm a lowlife. And so just try and keep the steady course. Have the faith that going to Mass, what actually is happening, that is a miracle right there. And it doesn't matter if it was celebrated not to the best of your liking. It's still Jesus. And so I think that's the biggest thing. And then if you could do me a favor, if I've spoken any heresy, scrub all that stuff out.
And I say, confession was so powerful for me coming back to the faith, and I feel like a lot of times it's not talked about. It's kind of like we just go to mass, but I think confession is really where a lot of change can start happening in someone's life, because you eradicate sin from your life, you're going to have a much clearer intellect. And that was just so important for me. And we need to start having a lot longer confession lines, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Greg Zuerlein, Harrison Butker, this has been great. Tim Gordon, I've really enjoyed this, learned a lot, and I'm inspired. And I encourage everybody watching, pray for these two guys. They represent our faith in one of the most public arenas of American life. So that's encouraging. And everybody just continue praying the rosary, stay close to our Lord, have faith, have hope, have charity. And until next time, signing off.
Thank you for having me. God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.